Hello, and welcome to the Art of Selling Online Courses. We're here to share winning strategies and secret hacks from top performers in the online course industry. My name is John Ainsworth, and today's guest is Alyssa Marshall. She's the co-founder of Owlish, which is a SaaS that helps non-technical creators create awesome-looking online courses into their own websites without the need of a developer. And today we're going to be talking about how to validate the demand for online courses, whether it's your first one or if you've got courses already, so that you know whether what you're creating is the right thing for your audience. Now, before we dive into our interview with today's guest, I've got an important question for you. Do you own a course or an authority site? Because if you do, there's a short list of techniques that can help you to double to about quintuple your revenue. There's these 8 techniques that my team uses to help online course creators grow their revenue. If you want to know which ones are relevant for you and how much more you could be making, then go to courseprofitreport.com. You fill out the survey. It's 10 questions, takes about 3 minutes. And after that, my team's going to create a personalized profit increase report for you. And if you look like you're a great fit to work with us, they're going to do you a video as well. They're going to do a breakdown of your sales pages, your checkout pages, your homepage, like what's all the things you can specifically improve. Now, back to the show. Alyssa, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me. Appreciate your time.
So we're going to talk today about validating online course demand. Let's start by talking about if someone is their first course, they've never created anything before, but they have built up an audience and they have got an email list already. What tips would you give people at that stage? What should they be doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very exciting place to be, right? Like, oh, let's introduce an online course to our whole business. And so for some people, this might be the first time trying to monetize. They might have built their audience up through social media or through free content, but have not charged them yet. Either way, there are, in terms of validating course, like your demand, to make sure that people actually want the course that it is you're trying to sell. It's kind of important that, first of all, your course topic is specific enough for your audience. And this is true, especially for those who have not monetized their audience, because it's kind of like, well, I can talk about so many things. And this, I think, happens in the brainstorming stage a lot for a lot of creators when they're like, okay, what should I make the course about? And it can be something that's like close to my heart, is because I have 2 little ones. Like, oh, how to be a good mother, or how to balance your time between whatever. But like, if I just start thinking about like what the course could become, it can start from like, oh yeah, I can do a course about like how to deal with like 2 difficult toddlers that are close in age, to it can like, oh, but if I, instead of just talking about the toddler stage, what about all these other parenting things? I can start bringing things in, and it can become a very big course where I'm like, how to be a good mother. And it's like, well, if I'm going to try to sell a course on how to be a good mother, now who is my audience? And you can say like, it's a mother, like, okay, yes, it's a mother, but like, who is going to really feel like, oh yeah, that's a course that that person has created for me? I would say it's almost nobody at that point. Like, are you talking to moms with teenagers? Are you talking to moms with newborn babies? You know, it's just so very general that you end up talking to nobody, and nobody really feels like that is a course made for me. So especially for those who this is like the very first course and you're trying to make sure that you are on the right track to create a good course that people would love, niche down until it hurts a little bit, niche down at the exclusion of part of your audience, to make sure that you are speaking directly to some of your audience. But to those that you are speaking to, it has to feel like you're speaking directly to them. If somebody tries to tell me, of course, like how to deal with a 2 and a 4-year-old and build your business, I'd be like, oh, that's me. that's quite niche down, right. But like that really is me. But you want to niche down until like you're speaking directly to a smaller group of people. And then after then, and only after then, you could perhaps create an adjacent course on like, all right, well, how to manage your time better as a mother, or, you know, how to systemize your house so you have all these whatevers in your house, but only after you first created a very, very niched course that is very specific in its topic, I would say.
Got it. Okay, cool. So tip 1, niche down until it's something super specific. What else should people think about next after that?
After that, to make sure that you're guessing, right? You're guessing, if I make a course on this, my audience would like it, but you don't know yet. So just don't build the course just yet. This is how I launched my very first online course. I had an audience and I hadn't have a course yet. I was teaching the same material live. This was dentistry, just to give you a little context. I'm a dentist by training. So I was teaching people how to do specific like tooth cutting techniques, if you will, on plastic teeth. But I was teaching that one-on-one live. And then from there, I went to teaching in group settings. But dentistry is not typically taught online. And we just didn't know, like, if I did this through an online course, would people actually do it? And there was no proven anything that would say like, yes, because this is like 9 years ago. It's before online courses were such a big thing. So what we ended up doing was just create a sales page. We created a sales page and said, this is the date the course starts. And it was about a month and a half out, I think. This is the date the course starts. And this will be like, and the way we promised it was that the content would be drip released. I did not promise that everything will be released at once. And it was like, we were like, okay, if we make a certain number of sales, we will make this course. Otherwise, we're just going to refund the money to everybody. And that worked out really well. I'm so glad we didn't pre-make the course. And I'm also, though, so glad that I did that, because we did get the sales that we wanted to hit. And so we did make it, but also like the release of the content, it was drip. And so like, I was working so many hours at that time to hit the release schedule that we had promised, but we did it. And now we had a recorded course and the rest is history. But yeah, so like, don't just go out and build a course because you think, just sell it first. Because like, if you don't make the number of sales that you need to make this course your worthwhile, then you're probably not on the money just yet. And then you have to spend the time making sure the content is right, the course title is right, the subtitle is right, the promise is right, and the promise of the delivery is right. Otherwise, you're just chasing down the wrong, direction. Because I'm sure if you tweak something a little bit, it will resonate with your audience a whole lot better. And now, in just a few weeks, if you try again with a different title, with a different angle, you might hit a gangbuster. But it's like, don't waste your time going down the wrong direction if you're not so sure just yet.
Yeah. One of the things I really like about what you said there was that you mentioned that you were doing it already one-to-one and then in the group setting. And I think that's such a big deal, because most of the people we work with who do the best did this in person first. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. That's like, it's kind of almost the norm. Because then they've had that thing of teaching the thing one-to-one, seeing the reaction, tweaking it, getting the hang of it. A lot of we work with a bunch of language teachers, and they used to be a language teacher who would teach a class of 15 people or 20 people or whatever in person, and it's like, and they just got really good at how do you actually teach this thing? And then they started doing it online as well. Now there's some who started by building up the audience and teaching stuff online and learning it that way, but that's kind of the majority of it. And it's the way we did it as well. When we started, we wanted to do a course. We started off with, we had a done for you service, and then we taught people one-to-one, and then we taught people in group setting. And then we made the course, and then we had the course go with the coaching. And then we redid the course once we'd learned a bit more on it. And now we're reaching the point where we'll sell the course on its own, because we've battle tested it enough that we know that if people follow this, it works. We don't have to like tweak and refine in person, like they can just follow the system. So now we're like, okay, now we can sell that, which sounds, I imagine, if you're like coming into this and you're like, I want to make money out of my online courses, like, well, that's a pain in the butt, right? Like that sounds like it'll take ages. It's like, well, I don't know that it does, but it seems to work quite well,
It is what it is. You have to spend that time learning about your audience, because otherwise you are just guessing. And I mean, okay, like you might be really excited making your course, but until somebody buys it, like you're not in business yet. You're playing business. And if you really want the business of yours to sustain you, you first have to make sure that people are going to buy it. And I don't know, like what better way is there to make sure that you learn about your audience intimately than to actually work with them? And even the better if it's in person or through Zoom, but like just spending that time to get to learn your audience intimately is invaluable. And in my opinion, they can't be substituted with Google keyword research or Ahrefs, or, like you can't get to know their psyche deeply enough
So on
without
top
that
of that
time.
one-to-one stuff, do you do any work around surveys to check demand for like, this course versus that one, that kind of thing?
Yes, that is a great question. And we actually used surveys in our dental business to validate course demand for our second and third courses before we launched them. Because at that time, we had a large enough audience that a survey did make sense. So if this is not your first course, like you're creating your second or third course or going forward, I can see that there being like surveys or even like just creating a landing page or a sales page that says like, oh, we have this course, or like, oh, we're making this course. If you're interested, leave your email. And this is a great way to just see like, okay, is somebody going to be like, oh, wow, like she's working on this course. It's not even launched, but I cannot wait to hear about it when it does come online. So that's a really great way to learn about that. And back to your point of surveys, like sometimes you're just like at this crossroads of, okay, I can make a course about like for my situation, it was about a very specific waxing technique for dentistry, or it was about radiograph interpretation for dentistry. And I wasn't sure which one they would like better or first, right? Because like you only have so many resources, you can work on like one thing at a time. And I was like, okay, I know my audience does at the end of the day need both courses, but what should I focus on first? And sometimes I just like, I don't even set up the whole survey. I just email them. I just email them and be like, hey, I got this on the back of my mind. I'm thinking either radiographs or waxing techniques. Which one would you be interested in first? And if you have any other ideas on what kind of content you would like to see from me, just reply to this email. And we have a few thousand on our, so it's not tens of thousands, it's in the thousands because our audience the size is very small. The market size, I should say, it's a small group, but you just get responses. And I have to say, like, it is so valuable because some people, when they respond to that, they pour their hearts out and they will say, oh my gosh, this is so timely because I'm in this situation and I like that course better. But have you thought about doing this too? And, they will give you ideas and they'll actually, when they start writing to you in long form text, now you have verbiage from them that you can, like, you need to keep that, by the way. Like I keep all of that in a spreadsheet. And this is kind of a tangent from what we're talking about, but like when you're putting together sales pages, I go back to that and grab snippets so that, the audience really feels like I'm talking directly to them versus I'm just, I don't know, it's just more relatable. But yeah, in that way to figure out like your second or third course idea, either sending out a survey, and oh my gosh, if you're going to send a survey, just leave them room to leave long form responses. Don't just send out multiple choice questions. Like a lot of people will not utilize that space to the fullest because, we're all busy. They're just trying to get to this survey and like get on with their day. But when you find those few people, and there will be those few people, if you built your audience in a way where they really care about you and they want to hear from you, and you ask for their input, they'll give it to you because this matters to them. And so, yeah, give them a place they can respond in long form so that you can get like really what it is they want, because you might be next to what they really want, right adjacent to it. And that can like just steer, like, I mean, in terms of your online course content, it might just be a lesson or two that shifts because of like a response you received or something like that. Not your entire, like what you were thinking, but it's like, oh, I should take this angle when I talk about that kind of thing. It just gives you richness and relatability to both your sales page and to your actual course content and what you can promise for your course for your audience.
Nice. All right, cool. So here's what we've got so far. So start out by doing work one-to-one with people, really understanding them, making sure you really do know your audience. Figure out what the possible topics are. And when you do, you niche down till it hurts. Then once you've got your options of what those niche down courses might be, run a survey out to your audience, especially if it's big enough to do this, or send out an email to them so they can just reply directly back. Leave space for long form content. And in there, you gather up what okay, this looks like that one's the most popular. Nearly everybody wants this course, or I've actually got some new ideas. Now I've got to do another survey to check, well, would you like this other one? You've got that topic. You're pretty sure what to do. You still don't create it. You now set up a landing page and you set it, maybe you're pre-selling it there. So you put up the sales page, you put up a way for somebody to actually go buy the thing in advance. Probably there'll be a discount if they buy it before it's made, 50% off because it's not available yet. You see how many people buy it. And if enough people buy it, now you make it.
Then comes the actual work of making it, which is like so much work before you actually get to do the thing that probably is the thing that you want to do. But oh my gosh, that work beforehand is so very important. And by the way, I just wanted to give a little tip for those who might have an audience that is like small and they're just like, well, if I send out an email, I have 10 people on my list. And even if everybody tells me like, I'm just not sure. If you can spare $100 or maybe even $200 on Facebook ads and put in the whatever audience you do have inside Facebook. So hopefully you have retargeting pixels or something like that running already. But if not, just, you can put in their email addresses and then just ask Facebook to give you their lookalike audience for the audience that you already do have, and just put out like an ad to whatever it is that you're thinking to do. So like if you don't have a big enough audience to actually ask your audience, you can borrow Facebook's audience. And Facebook is really smart in knowing everything about everybody. And so when you ask to give you like a lookalike audience or people that are a lot like your audience, they do a good job, I find. And so that's another way where, if your audience size is big enough and you just don't know where to turn for opinion, then you can find it there. And you can just create two completely separate ads on like one for this course and one for that course, and just look at the click-through rate even.
Okay.
And that will give you a good indication of like, okay, this is better than that. It will not give you a clear indication of my audience will buy that. That part is missing because you don't have that audience size yet. But if you just need some breadcrumbs to follow, let's say, then it will show you the right direction in terms of what options you have presented to your audience.
Nice. All right, cool. Any other tips on validating the online course demand that we should go through for everyone?
Sometimes people are ready to create or feel like they're ready to create their flagship course. They're like smaller courses and they're like larger, more comprehensive courses, right? And when you're working on your larger, more comprehensive course, it is a huge investment in time and effort. It's just a lot of refinement and a lot of work goes into creating like a comprehensive course that you want to call your flagship course. If you have some ideas about what that might be, but you're not sure which direction yet, again, even if you're not ready to work on that yet, just put up a landing page for that course. And it doesn't have to be a perfect landing page. I really love landing pages. For the record, like I'm telling you to, even when you, let's say, pre-sell the course, you do not have to say that it's been created. You can totally be honest in the sales page and say, hey, this course will be released if, we hit the whatever, or you don't have to say it, but I'm not saying like pretend to do something or pretend to be something that you're not. That is not at all. But even for like validating course idea, and this is if your website has enough traffic and if your course idea is specific and niche enough that if you put up a sales page around that topic, people would actually get Google search results from it. So this takes time, right? Like this is not like I put it up today and I figure it out by tomorrow. I won't. But if I let that marinate online for a while, you'll at least see, okay, this is getting more traffic than that. And so this is a much more longer term look. And you certainly do not want to do this with like a big category like personal growth. Like if it's something that is very large and it will never show up in Google search results. But if it is something like what I was doing, what it's like having very specific dental techniques for this very, very specific audience, then what if people actually search for it, there are not a lot of other options to pop up in the search results, and those will show. And so that is another thing that you can do. That's free. It does take time. But if you don't have an audience size, you can just create like 10 different landing pages, duplicate them out, just change a few words here and there, and just see which one floats to the top. And It's interesting when you do that. Sometimes it's clear sometimes you have a clear winner, or sometimes you just have a very clear loser. Like, don't do that. Nobody searched for it. It got no traffic. So there are things you can do.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, you run Owlish. Can you tell everybody, like in 2 minutes, what Owlish is, what it's all about?
Oh, yes. So in my years as a non-technical course creator, I am not tech, I'm a dentist. So I'm not like the whole tech side of things and coding. This is so not me. And I was really frustrated because we would have these business needs that would make it a little bit more challenging to use one of those pre-built, I don't want to name any names, but there's those big platforms where you get your own subdomain and you have everything on that course site. But like, I wanted my course site to do other things. I didn't just want my course to live there. Like, I wanted them to book private sessions with me or my separate consultant. Like, I wanted to do things, and it was not a possibility. Luckily for me, my husband is a developer. And so he, put together a WordPress site and put all these plugins together to make everything work. But as a non-technical person, like, I didn't even like logging into the backend. It was such a disaster. I found it really challenging and frustrating to even make a simple change. It was just overwhelming. And so my husband and I talked about it. We're like, okay, there has to be a better way to insert a course into the website that you have already. Instead of creating a subdomain, whatever functionality your website does, wonderful, leave it. You want to just add a course to it? Here you go. Here you can add a few snippets of code to your site, and it will display the course where you tell the site to display it. And that's it. And so that's how Owlish was born. It is for non-technical creators that want to have their course in their own website without creating a separate subdomain or managing another website. And you can utilize all of the existing functionalities or whatever it is that you want to build, and just add the Owlish course to wherever it is that you want. So it was kind of like ticking off all of my wish lists for what I wanted the course site to be, especially as a non-technical person. It was all so very intimidating, but Owlish is super easy to use because that's exactly who we had in mind when we were creating it. And so, yeah, Owlish was born. So it's super flexible. It looks great because, oh my gosh, another thing that happened was, like, we would have this beautiful looking sales page, and then we would send people off to buy the course, and the course didn't look good at all. And it was just like, no, it has to look good. Design matters. So anyway, we worked with designers to make sure that it looks beautiful on your front end. You don't have to code. You can change colors, or you can, do custom coding and be fancy with it if you want to, but you don't have to know a lot to make your course look good. And yeah, we just really liked the idea of being able to keep everything under your umbrella of your website, your business, and then here is the course. You just add it to it, and it's easy.
Nice.
So that's Owlish. Cool. Yeah.
And you guys have got a special offer for listeners, haven't you?
Oh, yes, we sure do. So we put together an offer to give your listeners 2 months free in our pro account, so the highest tier of the pricing. And you can claim that offer if you go to owlish.com/data-driven. So that's just Owlish with 2 W's, owlish.com/data-driven, and you get 2 months free.
Perfect. All right. Thanks so much for coming on today, Alyssa, and sharing wisdom about this. I think this is really helpful. I think it's going to save people so much time. I've got friends who have made courses without doing this stuff and then not been able to sell much of them, and it's painful. And it's like, so follow the wisdom from today, save your time, make sure you know which things you should be creating, and it's going to make your life way better. If you found the interview useful and you want to get future episodes, please subscribe wherever you listened. Thank you guys so much for listening. And thank you, Alyssa, for coming on and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you so much, John, for having me on your show. Appreciate it.